Wish you were the color you were again.
Do I wish I was the color? You have to ask nature that. I love black. I love.
Do you wish you were that way?
I envy her because she can tan and I can't. I want to set the record straight. That if people hear a lie long enough, people believe it. That people have lied on me. I'm a black American and I'm proud of it. And I'm honored of it. The bleach skin rumor, which is a rumor, I don't bleach my skin.
Did you ever, as this young boy said you did you ever sexually engage, fondle, have sexual contact with this child or any other child?
Never, ever. I could never harm a child or anyone. It's not in my heart. It's not who I am. And it's not what I'm not even interested in that.
What is your response to the allegations that were brought by the district attorney in Santa Barbara that you molested this boy?
Totally false. Before I would hurt a child, I would slit my wrists. I would never hurt a child. This is totally false. I was outraged.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I just feel in my soul, only God knows, they could shoot me. They could stab me. They could frame me and say I overdosed you with drugs. They can do a lot of things.
The truth about a potential Michael sequel is that no one is truly ready for what that movie could be. But before we get into today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on push notifications to stay up to date on every single one of my videos. But let's get into today's video. I've seen Michael twice now, and although on my second rewatch, I've been able to really understand more of what people didn't like about it. I do think it follows under very similar tropes of many biopics that we get, but Jafar Jackson is the true star of this movie. He does a phenomenal job playing Michael Jackson, and it only makes me think about what his performance could evolve into once we get a sequel for this movie. Because let's be real, we probably are going to get a sequel, but what could that sequel look like? Many people are upset, even outraged, that this Michael Jackson biopic that just came out is not following a lot of what truthfully went on in Michael Jackson's life, specifically the child molestation charges that were put onto Michael and were all acquitted in 2005, 4 years before his death. Now, one, this movie is getting immensely review bombed because people just do not like Michael Jackson, and there are the select group of people that do like Michael Jackson but genuinely just don't like this movie. But the majority of those bad reviews that we're seeing are definitely people that have a vendetta against Michael Jackson. Because go look at Leaving Neverland, the documentary that is complete opposite of the Michael Jackson biopic, in which that movie is a complete falsification of who Michael Jackson was and all of the false allegations that were against him. Rotten Tomatoes nearly gave that a 100% Rotten Tomatoes, and gave this movie, I think it's at sitting around a 40%. So just, take that of which you will. But getting into what a sequel could look like for Michael, it is going to be, and hopefully will be, 100% different than this movie. Guys, this movie, Michael, it was a movie that followed the upbringing of Michael Jackson. And yes, although they do leave out a good amount of stuff that happened in his early career, this movie does try and take it easy on Michael Jackson and really makes it an opportunity of people being able to see Michael Jackson in his true form played through Jafar Jackson. And I love how this movie represented that concept, in which it didn't have to be a story that completely revolved around trying to deep dive into Michael Jackson before all of the bad stuff that really started to go on in his career. Even though a lot of stuff happened in his early career, he was someone that was truly making a difference in the world and making a change. No pun intended. But Michael the movie, it's really awesome in the way that we get to see a little bit into Michael Jackson's life, that of which he is on stage, of which he comes from, his childhood background. It's a really, personal and really very particular story about Michael Jackson, because a Michael Jackson biopic was always going to be hard to make. This is the hardest biopic ever to make. One, they nailed casting. Jafar Jackson was the perfect casting. He did an amazing job, and that was definitely the one thing that I think was the hardest thing to really find for the Michael Jackson biopic. But making this movie was always going to be a challenge. One, because they were originally going to dive deeper into the allegations revolving around Michael Jackson, and apparently there was only supposed to be one movie. And I think if they'd have went that route, I think it would have had the ending that people 100% would have hated and would have complained about, and would argue that they think that this ending that we did get is also that problem, in which it's not. And what I'm talking about is a movie ending in a way that suggests that we need a sequel. To finish the story. I think the way that they finished, or the way that they ended this Michael Jackson biopic, was done very tastefully. It ended with Michael Jackson finally being able to break free of his father's chains and can finally do his own thing and can start his solo career like strictly by himself. And that's where the movie ends. And it's a perfect ending. If we didn't get a sequel going more in depth on Michael Jackson's life, I think this would be still a great biopic, because we've gotten biopics before that don't go through every single aspect of someone's life, and they're still really good biopics. And like I said, they were going to dive a little deeper into the allegations of Michael Jackson at the end of the movie in the third act, but they had to completely reshoot the third act, which cost them around $10 to $15 million, because they realized that in one of the settlements that one of Michael Jackson's accusers had against him, that he was not to be portrayed in any sort of way in a movie. No portrayal by an actor, not even mentioning him in a movie. And he was going to be a character, as far as who was one of the main people that really called Michael Jackson out. And since they found out that he was going to end up in the movie, he complained, and they had to completely reshoot it. So that's why you're not getting the original ending that we were going to get. And I think that was a blessing in disguise, because I think they can go about the sequel in a way that really dives deep into Michael Jackson, and you guys are not ready. You guys, Michael Jackson is one of the most humble and inspiring people of all time. If you think that he committed any of these crimes, not telling you what to believe, but I really need you to think about who Michael Jackson was as a person and who he was as an artist. He was someone that loved children, people, animals. I said children and people as if children aren't people, but children and just humans in general. He just loved people. He loved love. He loved being able to spread that love onto people. He loved the child's innocence and purity. He used that to inspire his art, which makes total sense. Michael Jackson, as you saw in Michael, has been around for, a long time. Ever since he was a 5-year-old, he's been doing this. So starting his career as a young kid really will set that pace for him as far as what he's going to be inspired by. And I think that is what is one of the most beautiful things about Michael Jackson as a person, and what's so scary about how he died and how he left this world. And we don't have to get into why I think all of that stuff went down, because I think that it is a very sensitive topic. But the fact that Michael left this earth at such an awkward and weird time is very alarming, considering that there is so much evil in this world that is going to continue to try and hide the true evil of this world. And I believe that Michael Jackson was the scapegoat for that kind of stuff, because Michael Jackson was only someone that wanted to protect the children. He wanted to protect people. And it was so awful seeing how Michael Jackson was treated by everyone around him. No matter how much good he did, no matter how much joy and love he brought to his audiences, people would just constantly bring him down over and over again about his looks, about his voice, about his skin color. I mean, blatantly being offensive, calling out Michael Jackson, saying that he didn't want to be black anymore, and that's why his skin was white. It is just some of the most horrific things were said to Michael Jackson. No matter how many times he would call those people out, no matter how many times he would correct those people about his ailments, his health, his style, just they would never, ever, ever understand Michael Jackson. And that is something that he always had to really struggle with. And that is who Michael Jackson is. Michael Jackson was someone that loved for the simplicity of loving. There was no other meaning behind it than just he loved people. He loved kids. He loved animals. I mean, he was the purest soul on this earth that wasn't corrupted. He was just someone that just strictly wanted to help the world strive and make it a better place for people to be. So if that's what the sequel is going to look like, no one is ready for that sequel. No one is ready. I really don't think that people understand the true world that Michael Jackson was a part of. It was very, very sad. And although I would love to see it portrayed on screen because of just how Michael Jackson was perceived as a person and a musician in real life, it's such a horrifying perspective that I don't think a lot of people think about as far as who and how Michael Jackson was treated. And I believe that with what we're capable of telling as far as a story for Michael Jackson, I think that a sequel is something that people are not ready for, but think that there's really not much more to tell, even though there is so much more to tell than just the very false accusations of Michael. There is so much more to Michael than just what we want to hear. There is so much more, and you are not ready. But anyways, that brings you to the end of today's video. I'm curious, do you want to see a Michael Jackson sequel? Or honestly, I wouldn't even call it a sequel. I would genuinely just think of it as another Michael Jackson biopic, because there is a whole separate story of who Michael Jackson was as a person. So let me know in the comments below if you would like to see something like that. But that does bring it to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of it. I appreciate every single one of you. But remember, your movie moment is right around the corner. See you in the next video.